China burned coal to build the modern world. India watched, waited, and then did something no major economy had ever done before. It skipped coal entirely. And in doing so, it may have just stolen the entire century. For decades, economists called India a latecomer, arriving too late to industrialize, forever playing catch-up. But arriving late meant one extraordinary thing. India never had to choose coal. The cheapest electricity in human history was already waiting. Solar electricity in India now costs less than 2 rupees per kilowatt-hour, roughly 2 cents. That is cheaper than coal ever was during China's entire industrial peak. India is industrializing with an energy source 10 times cheaper than what built modern China. While China locked itself into 50 to 70 gigawatts of new coal every single year between 2005 and 2015, it was writing a debt to the future. Those coal plants will need to be written off. Trillions of dollars in stranded assets. India owes none of that. India's renewable energy industrial parks are the masterstroke. Factories built from day one around cheap solar electrons, not retrofitted to them. Solar panels, batteries, electric vehicles, all manufactured where the sun shines hardest and the power costs almost nothing. And here is the twist that changes everything for global trade. The EU's carbon border adjustment mechanism now taxes imports based on their manufacturing emissions. China's grid runs at over 530 grams of CO2 per kilowatt-hour. Indian solar panels made with solar electricity? Nearly zero. In 2014, India had 2.6 gigawatts of solar capacity. By early 2024, it crossed 100 gigawatts. A 40-fold increase in a single decade. To put that in perspective, India added more solar in 2023 alone than its entire installed base just 7 years earlier. At the same income level where China was burning coal for 75% of its electricity, India's renewables already exceed 20%. These are not comparable paths. India is running a different race entirely, on a track that simply did not exist when China industrialized. Solar PV costs have fallen over 90% since 2010. India is not sacrificing growth for green credentials. It is capturing the economics of an energy era that simply did not exist when China needed it. This is not idealism. This is arithmetic. The International Energy Agency projects India could add 500 gigawatts of renewable capacity by 2030. Solar will be the backbone. If that target is met, India will have built the largest clean energy system in the world, faster than any nation in history. But raw generation numbers only tell half the story. What India is building alongside its solar farms is what makes this moment truly unprecedented. Not just power, an entire industrial machine designed to run on it. And that machine has 3 pillars. Pillar 1, solar manufacturing. India's domestic solar module capacity exploded from under 10 gigawatts in 2020 to over 60 gigawatts by 2024. Wary Energies alone runs a 12-gigawatt factory. The PLI scheme, $2.9 billion, is the engine driving it. Pillar 2, batteries. A separate $2.2 billion scheme targets 50 gigawatt-hours of domestic battery cell manufacturing. Reliance Industries, Ola Electric, Rajesh Exports. India's industrial giants are racing to build the energy storage backbone of the 21st century. Pillar 3, electric vehicles. India sold 1.5 million EVs in a single fiscal year. Then Ola Electric went public, the first Indian EV company to list on the stock exchange, raising nearly $750 million. Clean mobility has gone mainstream. And here is the jobs argument that silences the critics. India's formal coal sector employs 400,000 workers. IRENA projects over 1 million Indians in solar and clean tech jobs by 2030. Clean energy will employ 2.5 times more people than coal. The green transition is a jobs boom. India is using solar to manufacture solar, a self-reinforcing flywheel China never had the option to create. Every panel built in a solar-powered factory reduces the carbon cost of the next one. The compounding logic is unlike anything in industrial history. But the dream has cracks. Here is the paradox at the heart of India's solar revolution. Over 80% of its solar modules come from China. The country India is trying to outcompete in clean energy is the same country supplying the components to build it. That is not a footnote. That is a fault line. When India imposed a 40% customs duty on imported solar modules in 2022 to force domestic manufacturing, the immediate result was module shortages, cost spikes, and project delays across gigawatts of committed capacity. The independence India seeks requires first deepening the dependency it wants to escape. India's electricity distribution companies are $72 billion in debt. These are the entities that must buy every gigawatt-hour of solar power generated. If they cannot pay, even perfectly built solar projects become stranded assets, the very problem India was supposed to avoid. And then there are the power lines. India needs 50,000 circuit kilometers of new transmission infrastructure by 2030, roughly the distance from Earth to the Moon and back, to carry its solar electricity to the cities that need it. Land conflicts and financing delays are chronic. Solar auction prices below 2 rupees per unit have squeezed developer margins to breaking point. And repeated policy reversals, safeguard duties imposed, then expired, then replaced, have created the one thing solar's economics cannot survive: uncertainty about the rules of the game. These are not fatal flaws, but they are serious ones. The gap between India's solar ambition and its execution capacity is the defining tension of the next decade. Every year the bottlenecks persist. The window for the greatest industrial leapfrog in history narrows. And yet, consider what India has already done. From 2.6 to 100 gigawatts in 10 years. A manufacturing base rising from nothing. An EV market crossing 1.5 million vehicles. A flywheel beginning to spin. No major economy has ever attempted this at this speed. India is the first major economy in history to industrialize using the cheapest energy source ever recorded, while simultaneously manufacturing the very products powering the global energy transition. That is not a coincidence. That is a strategy. And it is only just beginning. China built the 20th century on coal. The question now is whether India will build the 21st century on the sun, and whether the bottlenecks, the debt, and the dependencies will be solved in time. History is watching, and it will not wait.